Ladies and gentlemen, a long day, I know. Even though this is my fourth time as your chairman, I still do not find it easy to close the Forum for the Future of Agriculture. We have had many constructive discussions and thoughts that I do not think it is possible to summarize all in these 15 minutes. In fact, I will not even try. First, let me begin by thanking everyone here, whatever your age or generation, for being here today. I hope it has showed you some of what is possible and what you had a chance, that you had the chance not just to talk to those whom you agree with, but also with some of those you don't agree. But actually, if I was listening to the panels today, that was pretty easy. If I could ask you to do one thing, it is to not just think of this as a pleasant day and go back home. I hope that tomorrow morning you will ask yourself what is possible in your life and your job, and then to make the transition real, you owe it to the generation we spoke today about, to the next one. I would also like to thank all of our speakers for sharing their thoughts with us. We tried, as you have probably noticed, to put together a program showing a variety of options and views, and in particular different kinds of solutions existing to address the challenges we are collectively facing. The speakers have come from all over the world to join us, and they deserve our appreciation. Before I begin my closing remarks, I would finally like to extend a special thank you to the organizers, to Syngenta, to ELO, to our new partners who joined us, and in particular to the staff of the FFA. You may not have seen them all today, but they have worked hard for the whole last year to make sure that we can all be here today. The event is not possible without their hard work and their commitment. So, thank you. Before starting reading something which I have pre-prepared, I would like to reassure Galina, actually from two reasons. One reason is that she was studying the econometrics and statistics. By the way, I have PhD from econometrics and I was professor of statistics. And the other reason is because I was really touched by her statement. I can reassure her that nobody wants to demonize farmers, but we need to hear and also appreciate the honest statements like it was hers. Everyone, I'm pretty sure, even those raising critical voices today, are doing that with good intentions. Actually, with the aim to help farmers, agriculture, and also everybody who are included in the food production. We need more young farmers. We need to provide them with better economic prospects. Actually, even more. They need decent future which will be based on the reward of their own work, not on the subsidies, which is currently the case. We need more of those working hard to provide us with the need and pleasure of the quality and safe food. But we also have to hear the voices of the same consumers appreciating their hard work and also quality food, which are worried about the developments in the climate change, biodiversity loss, water and soil pollution. By the way, all those phenomena are in the first place the farmer's problem. So there will be, unfortunately, that's pretty sure, more extreme weather events, more unpredictable future for many of farmers, and more need from the side of farmers to get the public support. or they will have real problems to survive. But their call for help will be credible only if they will be, of course, actively engaging also in the prevention of those events. So we need a true, real partnership on the mitigation and on the prevention of all those things which we are talking about. And of course, we need Galina and we need Galinas, and we need instruments which will help us to deliver that. Ladies and gentlemen, the major challenges we face in the transition to a sustainable food system and the negative trends that have led us to this point can be basically summarized in 3 points. First, our political focus on short-term goals and election cycles. Second, our economic dependency on consumerism and GDP-fueled growth. And third, our failure to deliver a just and equitable transition and society. That is just one horseman short of the apocalypse. Together, these 3 trends are not just leading us off the cliff edge, they are preventing us from engaging honestly with reality and shaping the world we need. As our speakers have shown today, and as we can read in the newspapers everywhere, the systems that have governed us since the end of the Cold War are falling apart before our eyes. It is clear to me that we need to seriously rethink how we govern our societies and the systemic changes we need to ensure any future for this planet and for the next generation. Right now, we are at the eve of the next European elections, a new Commission and Council. Unfortunately, all public and financial institutions have a short-term logic built into their thinking, a logic that runs counter to our ability to transform ourselves. We must remind ourselves that politics is not about desperately trying to keep and protect the world we are used to. You cannot do this in the face of history, climate change, and environmental breakdown. The tragedy is that so many of our leaders have embraced this false notion of stability, of a static world. I can even understand why. It sells very well. It will get you elected, especially by Europe's aging electorate. Change is difficult. Change is scary, but it's also vital if we are to leave this planet in any shape for the next generation. The only way to embrace this as a politician is if you offer a new kind of future, based on a positive disruption. Our leaders, all of us, we must inspire voters, citizens, consumers to embrace this longer-term vision. In the 21st century, we can simply not afford any more short-term based logic and approach. I do repeat frequently that changes are unavoidable and humans are supposed to be intelligent. It is really high time to prove it. Second, we must reform our production and consumption systems. We need more creative destruction instead of destructive creation. There is no serious identification of the future risks that are inherent in this way of shaping our economy, and no real understanding of what really matters for a safe future. When we follow the money today, we reveal our true priorities. Our commitments to the Sustainable Development Goals are underfunded. Our investments in natural capital are far from needed and stand in black contrast to the unproductive investments and speculation in our stock markets. If we are to deliver a sustainable future and hand it to the next generation, we must embrace the logic of the circular economy. Waste, in essence, should be a word not known to anyone born today. Every plastic bottle that ends up in the ocean, every liter of manure that flow into our rivers, every bag of salad that is thrown out should be seen as our individual, economic, and policy failure. Make no mistake, reforming our food and economic systems to a circular model represents probably the most profound shift since the Industrial Revolution. But that is also its promise. In remaking our world, we will create the jobs and prosperity we need. However, the transition and prosperity it can bring must be widely shared and embraced. It is not possible to achieve sustainability unless it is just, fair, and inclusive. In nearly every country, we are seeing increased social unrest. It is growing even in the high-income countries. And it is really high time to hear the echo of the streets and the voice of the frustrated young generation, the first generation that is predicted to be worse off than their parents. If we do not do this, if we do not build a cross-generational coalition that recognizes and addresses poverty, inequality, and powerlessness that many experience, then others will, and they will be unjust, unfair, and exclusive. These groups are already here, telling a frustrated people that their suffering is the fault of immigrants, those of different faiths, or the European Union. We should raise our voice against loudly and not let them lead us off the cliff. We should offer hope and a vision of a true sustainable world instead. Rebuilding our civic institutions and food systems around a long-term, multi-decade vision is not easy. Reshaping our economics is hard. Delivering a just transition may be the hardest, but it must be done. However, I feel myself profoundly moved and encouraged by the next generation. Many of them have no vote yet, but they are on the street demanding action. They know the poisoned cup we are leaving them, and they are not accepting it. They have my full respect and also support. Why should they sit quietly in school and learn lessons about how a dysfunctional political system should work or economic theories that do not deliver sustainability? Why should they go to school when their future is at risk? They are right to ask, and also they are right to strike. But we cannot leave it to them alone. This is our burden to bear and our change to deliver. We must, or it will be forced upon us. If those of us who lead today are either incapable or unwilling to respond to the challenge, they must step aside and let the next generation to take over. Now, let me therefore make 3 proposals to capture this moment and make it real. 1, we should immediately lower the voting age. This generation is the best educated we ever raised, and we should give them a chance to elect those who look after their interests. The face of Europe is changing, and it should be reflected in the makeup of its highest bodies, including the European Parliament. 2, an idea which I share with my former colleague from the Commission and my good friend, Mr. Barnier. If our European leadership was happy to sign a fiscal stability compact to protect the current economic system, then they should also sign a sustainability compact. This should demand action on climate change, on our food system, and the full implementation of sustainable development goals. And it should have force of law and penalties for those who do not deliver. And 3, Europe's citizens, most of you in this room are one, need to play their part. You cannot wait for political parties or corporations to lead. In this election season, do not ask yourself what Europe should do for you. And the continuation of the sentence will not be the one you expect, but it will be, but what it can do for the next generation. Do not just trust those who talk about sustainability. Rather, interrogate the essence of their promise and what their past promises have actually been worth. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in human history, we face the emergence of a single, tightly coupled human socio-ecological system of planetary scope. We are more interconnected and interdependent than ever. Our individual and collective responsibility has enormously increased. It is time for a profound change. The clock has been set for 12 years. That is very little time to transform our farms, our factories, our homes, our politics, and our lives. I understand that this is, for most people, a frightening, difficult prospect. It will require all of us to demonstrate leadership, to show up and be counted, and to take our responsibility. But it should also be exciting. It is about delivering a new world with new chances for so many of us. I'm still encouraged by what we heard today, and I hope you were too. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, this was FFA 2019. The value of the FFA, I hope, is that we inspire a real change, that we do more than just provide you with a comfortable and inspiring space to talk. It is, after all, about the action and changes in real life that it delivers. Now, let us go home, let us go out and shape a world that is fit and proper for the next generation. Thank you again for coming. Thank you for staying till the end and for listening so carefully. And finally, thank you for being active agents of change. I wish you a safe way back home. Thank you.